the band.
Hello everyone! Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. And is it okay to say that whether I feel so comfortable doing this talk in front of you guys, even with a lot of cameras? Thank you so much for the warm welcoming in all of the smiles in your faces. So, as we welcome 2023, which is deemed to be a year of joyous and optimistic celebrations, while also writing a new narrative, the words bravery and empowering are said to define this year. And this precisely is how Rakuten Viber plan to take on 2023. Before we officially start, we would like to acknowledge also the presence of our partners from Shared Treats, Mr. Jed Lee and Vanessa. So it feels so good to see familiar faces, and of course our friends from the media. Rakuten Viber had an eventful 2022. Apart from the stellar performance of the app, this team also really focused on creating and maintaining strategic partnerships. And also, honestly, we have allotted a lot of our brain cells, energy, and hearts in fostering, understanding, and engaging more with the micro, small, and medium enterprises. At the same time, we have also seen the rapid rise of conversational commerce and the continuous shift of consumer expectations as more and more local and global brands have been turning to Viber to achieve their business targets by creating a seamless brand user interaction. Indeed, 2022 has been an amazing year for us, and we are confident that it is building a stronger foundation for Rakuten Viber to have a braver and more empowering 2023. All these milestones have been to tonight's celebration as we officially launch the newest and most exciting product feature just yet. As what we said, I'm not going to make this any longer. Let me call on my honor, the Senior Director for Rakuten Viber, all the way from Singapore, Mr. David Chen.
Thank you, Nana. Alright, I always love a setting like this, the stage, so I can be talking closer to every one of you. So first of all, good evening and Happy New Year. So my name is David, and I lead the Viber Growth APAC team based in Singapore. It's just good to be here. I see some familiar faces, and I'm meeting new friends as well from the media and partners. So if you look at this whole sessions we look at 2022 performance and how it's going to evolve into 2023. Now it's important we look at this whole evolution for us from the users all the way from personal users all the way to business users. So when we look at how we evolve and understanding usage, we learn a lot from everyone here and of course the users in the Philippines. So let me start off with looking at now post-pandemic era. And at the same time, we're looking also at the global challenges that are faced by many countries, but in APAC and in Viber globally. I'm really pleased to announce we continue to see double-digit growth. And for us, Viber as a whole, we continue to increase our users. And you see 22%, which is the top growth countries in the world. And we see more people are coming in just by looking at the way they use across different ways of features. And we've launched more different features in the last 2 years. Now, going into our core, of course, our group messagings, and it's an amazing 19% growth across. And this is also one of the top percentage growth across APAC as well as globally. Now, the interesting part is the whopping 106% of our monthly active users in the sector of retail, driving business particularly on the MSME category. Now, this is very prominent and significant in the Philippines that drive a lot of best practices from Philippines to the rest of the world. This is important for us, and That's exactly the reason why we're celebrating today with all of you to see this growth. Now, with this, how we focus as the team has really built MSME over the years, and why we are advocating for this, because we're providing a platform that they can take full advantage of, and how they can leverage the usage environment. Now, this is important. This is a true testimony of our usability, our relevance, and trust from all the users. And I, of course, thank for the room. I'm sure we have a lot of good, loyal, vibrant users here. And because of this, we see that the growth is not just from the everyday users, but also the business users. So this is a part why we want to celebrate, why we want to bring this good news. And of course, the good news is not just performance in 2022, but all the new features that's coming on board to help our business users. Now, this is a very important growth engine for us. And today will mark a major milestone for us to kick off 2023. Now, with that, let me then introduce to you our Chief Revenue Officer, Christina, who will be joining us virtually online. And I think, Christina, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Christina, I hand over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Lama and David, for the introduction. I am personally extremely jealous that you are all there together without me. I had the pleasure of joining you in June last year, and it was an amazing experience. Personally, I cannot wait to repeat this, and hopefully I will be able to join you in person before the end of this year again. So, as David was saying, we have a big year ahead of us. We've made a lot of changes, you've seen the results. We are about to make even more changes. So hopefully next time we meet, we will be able to celebrate the results coming from what we are about to present today. If we go to the next slide, I want to show you a quick video that will give you a snapshot or a summary of the Vibrant for Business solutions that we offer today. So I'm sure that some of you are familiar with some of the solutions that we are offering. What is important to notice is that the suite of solutions offers an answer to each step of the customer journey. And this is our ambition. This is our ambition to build, to help brands build awareness, generate interest, drive conversion, down to taking care of user loyalty and the after-sales care. So a brand can virtually use any of our solutions or all of the solutions in order to meet the users at every step of the customer journey. Anything from lenses that will help increase brand awareness, to the bots that we can send personalized offers to ignite the interest in relevant products, down to business messaging that I'm sure all of you know, that will help the clients keep track of the orders that they have placed and easily interact with post-sale support via messages in order to solve any issues that they may have or inquire about additional products and features. So, if we go to the next slide, there you go, you'll see how this translated in terms of results in 2022 versus what we had experienced and what we had seen in 2021. Over the past year, David was talking about the incredible growth that we have experienced in Philippines in terms of audience. Well, I can tell you that the same extremely impressive growth we have seen in terms of activities as well. When we look at the percentages of transactional messages sent, over 600%, I mean, it doesn't even warrant the comment because the numbers by themselves are extremely impressive. But we have seen similarly significant growth across conversational messages, promotional messages, and of course, new chatbots and new business accounts. So overall, the penetration in Philippines in terms of users has increased as per what David showed before, but in terms of business activity, the numbers really took off. People chatted with brands and companies and made use of all the Viber for Business solutions. This is what we are most pleased to see. Because while up until now, some brands were using one solution and some brands were using other solutions, now we really see them come together and really understand, or rather look at Viber as a platform rather than a suite of separate channels. So if we go to the next slide, you will see that our ambition for 2023 is to become a super app. Obviously, in your part of the world, I'm sure that you are familiar with the concept of a super app because when looking at what WeChat is doing in China and what Line is achieving in Japan, super app is not a concept that is foreign to the Philippines market. However, when it comes to Viber, what this means is that we want to maximize our utility and expand use cases in order to become a single gateway to multiple services, where users can do everything that they want, or as many things as they want, within one app, which happens to be their favorite app, as what the numbers show it. Anything from ordering food, to taxes, to paying bills, shopping. In a nutshell, minimum steps with a maximum value. I don't have to tell you about the trends that we're seeing in the industry that actually, let's say, justify this type of positioning, and why we are never going to become a second WeChat or a second Line, because these apps are very specific to the markets, to their domestic markets, whereas we still cater for a global audience. The main purpose is to add as much relevance and utility to the users' daily lives. So, part of our global app strategy, it is this week that we have actually globally launched 2 major updates. First and foremost, and I'm sure that most of you might have seen it in the app already, is the launch of a business inbox. What this means is that we have now a dedicated folder for brand user interactions, accessible directly from the chat screen. All your non-private messages, meaning none of the messages that are going to be, all of the messages that are going to be coming from businesses that you are interacting with, are now going to a dedicated folder that will ultimately give you, as users, better control over how to manage your conversations in the app, and will give brands a dedicated commercial area from where they are sure they are not jeopardizing in any way users' interaction in the private space. The second launch is the commercial account. The commercial account is a single meta business entity allowing users to search and discover all businesses and channels of communication. I'm going to go into more detail for each and every one of them. So if we are going to go to the next slide, there we go. So the business inbox, like I said, from now on, or rather from this week onwards, you as users at Viber, you will have complete control over your email experience. All your important updates are stored or are received by default in a separated folder. However, if you consider that some of the business messages that you are receiving belong in the main chat screen together with the private conversation, you have the flexibility to move some of these brands and some of these notifications from the business messages folder into the main chat screen. The control is with you as the user. For brands, what we're seeing is an increased engagement and conversion, mainly because now the business messages are no longer competing for attention in the private chats. The most important thing, however, is that obviously in terms of brand user interactions, up until now these messages were having an overlay that was preventing the message from the user from seeing exactly the content of the message. Where now, given that it is only the validated brands that are going into the business inbox, this overlay has been removed, which means that users can see the content of the messages much more easier, while having the perfect peace of mind that it is only brands that have been validated by Viber specifically with a blue tick that are going into the business inbox. Which means that if any brand or anybody is trying to impersonate a brand that is not theirs, they will not appear in the business inbox. And this is the first red flag in order for users to identify a potential spammer or a potential fraudulent account. So in addition to our efforts, constantly tightening our fraud and spam mechanisms, now the users themselves will be able to very, very quickly identify if one of the brands that is sending them messages is not a validated brand. Because if they are, they will be in the business inbox. So, if we go to the next slide, you will see that in addition to making changes on the product side, we also have taken additional steps in order to educate users about the business inbox. Mainly because, of course, it's going to change the way that you interact with the app. So, for the first user experience, there is a tooltip available in the chat screen introducing the business inbox with a pop-up message inside the business inbox explaining what the new folder is doing. In addition to that, starting the 30th of January, we will launch a series of CRM campaigns that will send all the users messages about the business chat inbox, adding to the further clarification of the new features. Can we go to the next slide? We have previously to launching worldwide business inbox conducted several surveys with users to understand how they are perceiving such a change. Needless to say, the results were, were a testament to the fact that the changes that we are looking to implement are a very welcome addition to the app. Over 60% of the users viewed the business inbox favorably and found it convenient, mainly because they were finally able to organize the private messaging and the commercial messaging in a way that suited their needs. Then over percent of users said they were willing to receive messages in the business inbox, whereas only 30% of the users have a better attitude towards business messages after the business inbox is introduced. These are the results of the survey, but in addition to the survey, you have to know that we have actually launched the business inbox in a beta version in Q4 last year in Bulgaria. So we actually had time to understand the impact this would have both on the user experience and on the business experience. And I can tell you that the results in both cases have been extremely encouraging and very much in line with what you're seeing here in the survey. We are to go to the next slide. And I think we skip one. So we need to go to the previous slide. There you go. This brings us to the commercial account. I was telling you that's a meta business entity, which can mean a lot of things, but frankly, not everybody understands what it is. Well, the main thing that commercial account does is that it offers users to proactively interact with the businesses that are present in the app. Up until now, if you were receiving a business message from any business in the app, it's because the business was first contacting the user. The business info page that we did have that was explaining basically the main activity of the enterprise and the logo and adding very simple fields like a phone number and an address was a static page, but it was not searchable and it was not discoverable. So it meant that the business had the power to connect to the user, but the user never had the power and the freedom to proactively contact the business. All this is changing with the introduction of a commercial account, which, as you can see on your screens, it's a dynamic page that is actually allowing businesses to add extra information about their activity in Viber. So you will know in Philippines, a lot of smaller enterprises are using not only bots, but they are using communities and channels as a way of interacting with the user. Well, now these enterprises, small, medium, or large, can now add to the commercial account all the channels that they have in Viber. So they are no longer restricted to a bot or to a message or to a phone number. They can actually list all the entities that are available in Viber, through which, like I was saying, users can proactively get in touch with a brand. We are extremely pleased about this addition because, of course, not only it adds to giving more power to the users, like I was saying, but it goes in the direction of encouraging the brand user one-to-one conversation as opposed to a one-sided conversation as it could have been perceived up until now. In a nutshell, if we have to go to the last slide, 2023 year of the super app, as Viber sees it, interesting additions. The bottom line is that our ambition is to become a one-stop shop for all brand user interactions. We want the experience to be seamless, not only from the user, but also from the brand. And last and not least, it's probably the most important aspect, don't forget that what we're doing is aimed to be useful and relevant to both you as users and you as businesses. Thank you so much. These were our launches that we are presenting today as part, like I said, of a global launch that has taken us to a series of events that has been happening from the beginning of the week. I'm sure there are questions, and I look forward to receiving them and answering them.
Okay, so thank you, Christina. Of course, Christina will be staying on. Thank you for the round of applause for Christina. Christina will still continue to be with us on Zoom as we open the floor for questions. So you've heard about the presentation, and I'm sure you've noticed. I'm sure all of us here in the room are all Viber users. Yes. Yes, okay. I need a much louder response than that. Yes? Yes. There you go. So I'm sure you noticed business inbox now on your Viber apps. Actually, I'm sure it would appeal to a lot of the control-loving people here in the room. Okay, so if you have, and also the brands can also now start to access their commercial accounts, as you have heard from the presentation. Okay, so now it's time for you to raise your questions. I'm sure you have, you want to know some more things. There are some areas you want to clarify. from David. David is here, and Christina continues to be online to answer your questions. And of course, at this point, before I call on you, Bob Reyes, my friend, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of APAC Lead for Sales and Advertising, Ms. Carla Banwa. Is also here, and along with David and Christina, she'll be here to answer your questions with great passion and excitement. So Bob, what is your question?
Hi, good evening. How do you basically verify if the commercial entity or the business is real or fly by night?
Okay,
That is a
Christina.
very good question. Oh, sorry, yes. I'm going to behave as if I'm reviewing the room, even if I'm not. I'm sorry about that. So, that's a very good question. Like I said, today this validation is manual. So actually our teams are receiving the applications for each and every business. And they are conducting checks, both from a legal perspective and also from a commercial perspective. So all the businesses that normally are sending business messages are businesses that have been validated by our team, they receive a good tick, and now they go straight into the business inbox. Which is why I'm saying that normally somebody is trying to impersonate a business moving forward, when we know that they can use a phone number and try to message several users and put a logo, this account, by definition, will not go into the business inbox, and obviously will also not have the blue tick.
You're happy with the answer? Thank you, Christina. Bob Reyes is very happy with the answer. Any other question from our friends here? Of course, you have Tyra Bian from Inquirer.
Yes, good evening. I'm Tyra Bian from Inquirer. First of all, congratulations on launching your 2 new features. Ms. Christina earlier said that 2023 is the year of Super App. So I just like to ask for an update because last year you mentioned you were eyeing to launch your payment feature this year in the Philippines. So kindly asking for updates. When are we expecting this year? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Another very good question. It's true. We are planning to launch Viber Pay as well as part of the Super App features. The only reason this hasn't happened so far is that unlike the business inbox and the commercial account for Viber Pay, we are actually dependent on local rules and regulations. So it's not a feature that is only obviously produced in-house. We are dependent on banks and local finance regulation. All of this is ongoing. Philippines is very much very big focus for Viber Pay, and if all the approvals or all the procedures move forward as they should, you should, or hopefully fingers crossed, we will see Viber Pay in Philippines before the end of the year. So it's ongoing. We have not changed our focus. But we can only advance as fast as we can in relation to the third parties that we are obviously not able to control 100%.
So I'm just curious, what kind of licenses are you trying to secure here in the Philippines to enable your payment feature?
While it can be a very detailed question that is moving us away from the purpose of the conversation today, and we can offer a more detailed explanation in parallel to this meeting, I would say that everything that will allow us to enable users to do P2P transactions to begin with, and down the line, of course, as the feature reaches a certain stability and maturity, will allow users to perform additional financial functions to it, anything from paying bills to finalizing transactions and everything else. But today what we're working towards, similar to what we've done in Europe, is allowing users to start with P2P transactions.
So last question.
David, if you want to add, David, if you want to add further information on this, without necessarily going into the technical answer, feel free.
Yeah, thank you.
That will be the top line.
I'm having an echo here. So I fully align with what Christina has mentioned, because P2P is probably the most important part to learn really the fundamental way how users transact with users. And you have seen how we have built up ecosystem with MSME and other things. Ultimately, the payment gateway is what we want to equip the users with. So this is a fundamental step to take first. And as what Christina said, the regulation is something we want to be fully aligned with the local regulations itself. Ensure that we have the right partnerships and license to operate. But absolutely stay tuned for this launch this year.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so next question, because a while ago you said penetration of fiber here is already at 70%. So are you hoping to have maybe 80 or 90% by the end of the year? And how will you accomplish this? Thank you.
While growth is very much into David's area, what I can say is that all of the features that we are launching, that they are on the business side or they are on the user side, are aimed at encouraging users to engage more with Viber and encouraging more users to obviously download and use Viber.
And Christina, if I just add, in a sense that penetration is a good number, but what we look at is the engagement with users. I think it's way more important than just the number of users that we have. For us, engagement explains the actual user journey people are using Viber for. So this is an important part for us to look at numbers, how many people are installing Viber, but most importantly is our active users. So this is a number that we have shared in percentage and where we focus most of our resources on by creating better engagement with our users.
I mean, the increase that we have, just to complete David's answer, the increase that we have seen in terms of user database in last year comes or is directly linked to the increase that we have seen in the business solutions. Because ultimately, private messaging is something, and we all obviously want to get in touch with the loved ones. But by adding utility and relevance, like I was saying, or features that go in the direction to the app, this is how we are planning to increase the engagement that David was mentioning. And of course, offering exclusive features like Viber Pay will be, that will allow users to make B2B transactions in the first place, will not only increase engagement, but motivate users that might not have Viber today to download it and use it because they have access to a service that they cannot get so easily anywhere else.
Okay, thank you, Tyrone, for your questions. Now we move on to Monsi Serrano of Philippine Business News.
Hi, Christina. Nice to see you again, albeit virtually. My question is there, like a lot of Filipinos are traveling again, is there a plan to integrate the Rakuten Travel in the app? Because that would provide convenience to a lot of Filipino travelers. Because booking is really challenging right now. Thank you.
Christina, I'll take it. Yeah, so this is a very, very good question. You probably will stay tuned about things that we'll be doing this year. As we increase the engagements, travel, as you know, post-pandemic, as I mentioned, now people are traveling with a vengeance. So we know the traveling industry and ecosystem is going to grow, and we're already talking actively. In fact, Rakuten Travel and us is partnering since last year, talking about different hospitality services by looking into inbound, outbound, domestic. So we are definitely there, but I will hold it until all the major announcements, especially with partners, because the ecosystem is a lot of partners involved, and we are very excited for that to come this year. Stay tuned for that, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, Robert.
Robert from IB. Speaking of those kinds of changes, what else has changed that you noticed? Like between now that we're in this weird post-pandemic ish kind of world, has there been new opportunities or new trends that you've seen with the businesses as you've been working with?
Christina, you want to take that first? I will edit it.
Sure. Actually, it's not surprising, but it's encouraging the fact that now that the pandemic has, let's say, calmed down and the world has opened again, the use of digital services hasn't increased. Whereas a lot of economies all over the world have accelerated the use of digital because we were all under lockdowns, one would have maybe assumed that once the world would open again, we would go back to a lot of face-to-face transactions, and the digital trend would at least slow down, if not decrease. Well, thankfully, last year has shown that it's not at all the case. We see more and more businesses of all sizes that are continuing to invest in digital, almost to the detriment of brick and physical stores, brick and mortar stores. So it's clear that if we continue to enable solutions that will make their digital life easier, they will continue to invest in mobile marketing and digital marketing and in a digital experience or virtual experience that will improve the way that customers are interacting with their brands. That for us, or rather from where I sit and I look at a global remit, is the most encouraging trend, and it's what's guiding a lot of the decisions that are being made and presented here today. Then David, if you want to add more on the local touch.
Yeah, and I think that the key, I wouldn't call it change, the key constant growth is what we talk about, conversational businesses. What we see, as I mentioned, the retail part of things has absolutely grown over in the transition of pandemic to post-pandemic. You can see the growth of our business users, especially in the retail side. And one word that everyone is well aware, omni-channel, is exactly how you complement digitally to the offline businesses. I think that's what you see our business inbox and commercial accounts are helping a lot of brands to add that values to their customers, right? Especially on conversational, on a platform they're trusted, especially on the security and privacy on their part. So this part is a constant growth. We also see other area where in APAC in general, where our government agencies are working with us on looking into unifying certain communications. We do see that because they see how the pandemic has helped to effectively and efficiently communicate with the citizens. And we continue to get a lot of such requests to help. We do see other organizations coming to us for that kind of help. So we're glad on helping consumer end, but most importantly, we see a huge demand from organizations coming forward to us, and that's the reason you see a really timely launch of our business products here.
Okay. Another question from the Business Mirror.
Good evening. I just want to ask, in what particular business categories do you think this business inbox and commercial accounts as Fiverr will have a significant take up here in the Philippines?
Thank you, that's a very good question. The short answer would be the business inbox applies to all businesses because it is all the messages from all the businesses in whatever vertical that will be going into the business inbox folder. But and the same for the commercial account, of course. But when it comes to businesses that maybe were holding back a little bit on using Viber messaging for commercial purposes, the addition of the inbox account, as we have seen it in other parts of the world, I think will encourage a lot of the financial institutions to be more active on Viber, mainly because they have an added extra layer of security now that it is only validated accounts that will be accepted on Viber. And when it comes to a commercial account, we've seen that a lot of retailers have actually embraced this as an opportunity to further promote their services, or rather to enhance the presentation of their services on Viber. Because while the business info page was useful because it existed, in terms of offering a more engaging user experience and a sexier experience at the end of the day, commercial account is really ticking these points. You have a dynamic experience, you can, and there are more features actually to be added to a commercial account, where you're going to be able to add promotions in there, download product catalog, different way of the users interacting with the brand. So it really strengthens the way that retailers or FMCG brands can beautify the way that they appear in Viber.
You want to add some more? Okay. Any other question from the room? That's it? Are you serious? Oh. Okay, so I think that's it. Okay. Okay, one last from the Fort Velasquez of Manila Times. Go ahead.
Hi Christina, nice to see you again, and also nice to meet David. Congratulations on the numbers that you have. What I'd like to ask is something in connection with in a previous Viber event. It was brought up in terms of business applications that there's an opportunity for video conferencing as part of the business package. Is this still within the works, or is that something that's deprioritized in terms of focusing now on the current launch?
If our product were here, they would say that it's still on the roadmap, and it is still on the roadmap. I wouldn't say that it's deprioritized, but let's say that we have reprioritized some of the other features on top of it. Not because we don't believe a video conferencing to be an extremely useful addition, but because when looking at global launches, we need to make sure that the features that we select and the priority in which they appear makes them relevant worldwide. So there is a need for it. We will start with business calls between business video calls business video calls, and if the appetite for business calls is strong enough, then we will continue to or we will move forward with the video calls as well. So it's still there. We have absolutely not forgotten about it, but we have received more interest in business calls, voice only of course, and we want to test that out and understand how it works before we invest in the next phase of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Another question? I think we have time for one last question.
Oh, I think we can make time for a lot more questions. Like I said, I want to be with you, and I can't be there. So please keep me here with you.
Majority of the people in the room, Christine, actually got to meet you last year when you were in Manila. Because I can remember you.
I know, it's not helping because they are there and I'm not. So.
Okay. So no other question? Okay, so on that note, so thank you, Christina, for starting off your day with us here. Thank you, David, for being here. Okay, so again, with the presentation that David and Christina shared, definitely we can say that that news recovers well for the rest of the year, right? So starting off 2023 on a very exciting note from Viber. So I'm sure if you want to know more about it, if you want to reach out and have an exclusive interview with Christina or David, please feel free to reach out to us. Ben Salido PR will be happy to help you and to make that arrangement between you and the Rakuten Viber team, of course. So again, thank you, David. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
And of course, our friends from the press. Thank you again.